So, have you ever looked at the ultra successful, the billionaires, the absolute peak performers of the world, and thought to yourself, man, their brains must just be built completely differently than the rest of us? Well, today, we are going to dive straight into the fascinating neuroscience behind that kind of success. And to be clear, we aren't just talking about motivation or hustle culture here. We're talking about the actual, literal biology of how you can leverage neuroscience to unlock peak performance and rewire your reality. But listen, before we get into the heavy stuff, let's clear the air real quick and address the elephant in the room. You've probably heard that old myth that we only use 5 or 10% of our brains, right? And that there's some secret hack or magic pill to unlock the other 90%. Well, neuroscience tells us that your entire brain is actually always engaged. Even right this second, your visual cortex, your auditory cortex, the whole system is fully lit up. So the goal we're looking at isn't about waking up unused parts of your brain. It's actually about optimizing how efficiently those networks communicate so you can handle stress, make brilliant choices, and really drive yourself towards success. Okay, here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Mastering the morning brain. 2. The mover's morning routine. 3. Limbic system vs. frontal cortex. 4. Hacking stress and emotions. And finally, 5. Rewiring for lifelong success. Let's jump in. First up, Section 1, Mastering the Morning Brain and Escaping the Alarm Clock Trap. So think about it like this. When you're in a deep sleep, your brain is in delta. When you naturally start waking up, you transition into theta, which is this highly creative, incredibly suggestible state. Then comes alpha, where you're calm and relaxed. And finally, you hit beta, which is your active, alert, problem-solving state. But here is the massive mistake most of us make every single day. We set a blaring alarm. That loud noise violently shoves your brain from deep delta sleep straight into stressful beta. You literally skip the powerful theta and alpha states entirely. It's kind of like having your car in neutral and immediately slamming it into fifth gear. The engine is going to violently crank, right? Well, your brain does the exact same thing. So how do we actually fix this? We need to harness our natural morning chemistry instead of fighting it. First, try this thing called pillow talk. It sounds a little silly, but simply tell yourself the night before, while you're drifting off in that suggestible theta state, exactly what time you want to wake up. It actually primes your body's internal clock. Second, the very moment you wake up, get some immediate sunlight. This hits a tiny part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is a mouthful, I know, but it instantly kickstarts your natural circadian rhythms. And third, you've got to delay the caffeine. I know, that's a really tough one for a lot of us. But drinking coffee immediately gives you an artificial beta spike when your body is already naturally trying to produce cortisol and endorphins. Just let your body do its natural work first. Moving on to Section 2, the mover's morning routine. This is basically the playbook of peak performers. Now, you might be wondering, what should that first hour of the day actually look like? Be honest with yourself for a second. For about 80% of people, the literal first action of the day is grabbing the phone, checking notifications, and completely flooding the brain with other people's demands. You're putting your brain in an immediate state of reaction. But the ultra-successful, they design this hour incredibly intentionally. They do not react, they prime. And they do this using the MOVERS framework. It's a handy acronym that stands for meditation, oxygenation, which is just deliberate breath work, visualization, exercise, reading something positive, and scribing, which is basically journaling to get out whatever is on your mind. Now, I hear you. This probably sounds like a massive hours-long chore, but it's really not. You can literally dedicate just 5 minutes to each of these. 5 minutes of deep breathing in the sun, 5 minutes of visualizing your day. In just half an hour, you've completely primed your entire neurochemistry for a successful day. I actually want to pause for a second specifically on the V in movers, visualization. Because this isn't just some fluffy motivational trick. It's a hard biological fact. Researchers did this wild study with piano players. One group physically practiced playing the keys. Another group simply sat there and mentally rehearsed playing the keys. And get this, after 3 months, brain scans revealed that the growth of brain cells in both groups was almost identical. No way, right? But your brain literally cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined event and a physical reality. Mental rehearsal actually grows physical neural circuits. All right, Section 3, limbic system versus frontal cortex. This is the internal battle we all face. Let's look at the actual hardware inside your head. You've got the more primitive limbic system, which is often called the reptilian brain. Its entire job is just to scan for threats, and it operates super fast on the 4 Fs: fight, flight, fear, and freeze. On the other side of the ring, you have the frontal cortex. This is your advanced human brain. It's responsible for the calm and calculated 4Cs: command control, choices, and commitment. Studies actually suggest that 80% of the time, most people are being completely controlled by their limbic system. They're just constantly stuck in this loop of stress, reacting to emails, fearing the future, freezing under pressure. But successful people, they have actively trained their frontal cortex to override that primitive alarm system. But look, we're human. Sometimes the limbic system wins temporarily. When you get suddenly furious or terrified, this tiny almond-shaped structure called the amygdala completely hijacks your brain. But here is the absolute game changer. An amygdala hijacked only takes exactly 13 seconds to run its primary chemical course. Seriously, 13 seconds. If you can just survive that tiny window without reacting, the bubble bursts and your frontal cortex can step right back in and regain control. So how do you survive those 13 seconds? You do it through a technique called cyclic sighing. It's a deliberate breathwork strategy. When someone disrespects you or a huge deal falls through, you literally just take a massive deep breath in and then let it out incredibly slowly and start counting backward from 100, 99, 98. As you exhale slowly like that, you are actively engaging your parasympathetic nervous system and your vagus nerve. You are quite literally pulling the biological plug on your anxiety and stopping that amygdala hijack dead in its tracks.
Okay, Section 4, hacking stress and emotions and processing our daily lives.
Throughout any given day, your brain is processing a massive, almost unbelievable amount of data. How much? Well, we have roughly 50,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, a massive study audited the thoughts of over 20,000 people to see what on earth they were actually thinking about all day long. The results were pretty staggering. Almost all of our tens of thousands of daily thoughts loop endlessly around just 3 core topics: health, wealth, and relationships. So, sorry to break it to you, but your brain isn't quite as unique as you thought. But here's the takeaway. If you want to optimize your life and free up your mental energy, you don't actually need to solve 1,000 different problems. You just need to create stability in those 3 main pillars. And speaking of relationships, the source material breaks down a truly fascinating neurological difference in how men and women process emotional stress, specifically when it comes to breakups. From an evolutionary standpoint, when women enter a relationship, their brains release high amounts of oxytocin, which is a really powerful bonding hormone. Because they bond so deeply and chemically early on, when a breakup happens, they tend to process that emotional pain immediately and intensely. Men, on the other hand, are driven more by testosterone in those early encounters, which actually limits that instant chemical bonding. So initially, a guy might seem totally unaffected by a breakup, but months later, as the reality really sets in and the evolutionary goal of finding a partner triggers, the emotional pain finally hits them, which often leads to delayed feelings of isolation. It's literally a completely different neurochemical timeline.
Finally, let's bring it home with Section 5, rewiring for lifelong success and the power of the plastic brain. A really massive part of lifelong success is learning to work with your biology, not against it. You absolutely need to discover your chronotype. Are you a lion, peaking super early between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m.? Maybe you're a bear, hitting your stride mid-morning. Or a wolf, who does their absolute best deep work in the afternoon or late at night. Or even a dolphin with variable, unpredictable energy. Listen, so many people force themselves into a miserable 5 a.m. wake-up routine just because some internet guru told them to, and I think we've all been there just staring at the ceiling in the dark, right? But biologically, they might naturally be a wolf. Stop fighting it. Align your toughest cognitive tasks with your natural biological peak and just watch your productivity skyrocket. And if you want to keep that brain sharp as you age, you have to practice something called neurobics. Monotony is a brain killer. If you do the exact same routine, take the exact same route to work, and use the exact same hand to brush your teeth every single day, your brain just goes on autopilot. Neurobics is the act of giving your brain multi-sensory challenges to actively build new neural circuits. So try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Rearrange the items on your desk. Try mirror writing. Make it a fun, exciting challenge. These tiny moments of friction literally force your frontal cortex to wake up, adapt, and grow stronger. Because as the source material for this explainer so beautifully states, first you become here, then you become there. Success isn't just about external actions, it's entirely about your internal architecture. If you build the resilience, the focus, and those calm alpha waves inside your brain first, the external reality of your success will inevitably follow. Your internal wealth is what creates your external reality. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Based on all the neuroscience we just unpacked together, what is the one single habit you are going to change tomorrow morning to start rewiring your reality? Are you going to finally ditch that jarring alarm? Are you going to try just 5 minutes of visualization? The power is quite literally all in your head. Thanks for exploring the mind with me on this explainer. Get out there and start rewiring today.